Hello and welcome to this new post-election video. I'm Orlando Owen and I'll be your host for the next few minutes here and trying to tell you a little bit about what I think, my 2 cents maybe, to these most recent U.S. elections. Or some people prefer to call it selections. Why is the Trump victory important? Is this about being a Republican or Democrat? I'm telling you it isn't. Is it about being pro-Trump or pro-Harris or this or that? Is it a particular one-issue choice that you voted for or didn't vote or voted against? In my opinion, none of these things are really that important. They're all content when the actual larger, greater context is, what is the symbolism of a Trump victory? What is it really? Trump is a symbol. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I've always said a symbol is worth 1,000 pictures. If you think back, July 13th, first attempt at assassinating Trump, and you see his ear bleeding and he's fight, 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 you know? So when you see that, that's a symbol. It's iconic. It's an icon. It's so graphic, this image, that people will think of it many years from now. Just like raising the flag at Iwo Jima, if you know that one. Or if you want to go Norman Rockwell, who was a famous American painter of the Great Depression era, you see Trump waving from the, almost like a mom and pop shop from the McDonald's counter. Is this all public relations? Is this all kind of publicity stunts? Yeah, in a way it is. Or him being on the garbage truck because, Joe Biden called Trump supporters garbage. And yes, he did do that, yeah. So, again, I'm not Trump's greatest fan. 4 years ago, I was a complete Trump this, Trump that, MAGA, blah, 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 blah. 4 years later, and having watched all this stuff and having reviewed his first presidency, I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy, as cool as he is in many ways, he was also a little narcissistic. He needs to be liked. He needs the approval. And he has this weird and morbid obsession with the deep state and the neocons. Why else would you pick a Mike Pompeo, CIA, SDCI, who says, well, we steal, lied, and cheat. That's what we do at CIA. And the people go, yeah, like clapping seals. Kind of like when Satan Yahoo visited, Congress. Like, yeah, and we will kill every stinking, whatever, subhuman. Yeah, like trained seals. Again, I'm not Trump's greatest fan, but I will say he knows how to capture a lot of the frustration that the average American has, people like you and me. When we look at, the government, aren't you kind of tired of always being called this or that, a MAGA, a racist, or this and that, a misogynist, you name it? When I hear this stuff being talked down to, deplorables, or when Biden calls Trump supporters garbage, I think that rubs a lot of Americans, I'm one of them, the wrong way. I don't want to hear that stuff. I'm sick and tired of being talked down to as having America, the land of the free, home of the brave, to be turned into police state. Oh, there's no such thing as a First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition peacefully the government, blah, blah, friggin' blah. No, that's just, it is hate speech and needs to be regulated. And to me, that's basically Stalinist approaches. That's what a certain man with a mustache did in the 1930s. This is not where I want to go. This is not where I want America to go. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. And, I did vote for Trump, but barely. Largely because of his stands on certain Middle Eastern policies and so forth. I'm not going to get into detail because I want to get banned. But I'm telling you, Trump managed, think about what you want, he managed to harness the frustration of everyday Americans, just regular, everyday people like you and me. And they say, oh, well, the government doesn't care about people's opinions. The elites don't care. I beg to differ. If millions of people, and this may sound a little woo-woo or metaphysical, if millions of people think certain things, feel certain powerful emotions, there is a measurable effect. And it's actually been documented by science. If you don't believe me, read the experiments of Professor Tiller in California in the 70s and 80s and so forth. These things happen, investigated by science, in randomized double-blind studies, peer-reviewed. So these things are real. And if you have millions of people thinking certain thoughts, Good thoughts, bad thoughts, thoughts of fear, thoughts of panic, thoughts of, hey, I can't, wonderful, they tell us there's only 2% inflation, but my grocery cart costs 30% more than it did last year, same month. When you look at stuff like that, not being able to make ends meet, when you see the elites basically thumbing their nose at you, this is very reminiscent of the days of Versailles, say, 1789 French Revolution, when the elites were so corrupt that, and making fun of the people, like the whole idea of Marie Antoinette saying, well, they don't have bread, well, let them eat cake. But if you look at the Pelosi's, the Schumers of this world, the Mitch McConnells, again, this is not one party. It's one party slightly more than the other. But, ultimately, it's a uniparty. It's just one party. And why? They don't care about Republicans or Democrats. They don't fight those people. They break bread. They go to the same dinners, the same functions. But more, Trump used to be the darling of The View. When he was like 12 in his 12th season of The Apprentice, you're fired. So here comes along Trump, and he symbolizes an idea, and an idea is very, very hard to kill. He symbolizes the frustration, the indignation, the despondency of millions of Americans who feel ignored, insulted, being talked down to, or even downright oppressed. More and more bills, less and less income, higher and higher inflation. We're sending billions and billions and billions of dollars, some like Carl Sagan, billions and billions of dollars to some third-rate little dictatorship country very close to Russia. I'm not going to mention names here. And we sent billions and billions to another little Middle Eastern country that are doing questionable things with the Palestinians, meaning genocide. So you see this Trump come along, and all of a sudden he symbolizes change, just like Obama. Change you can believe in. Yeah, people believed it, and they fell for it, and it turned out to be a nothing burger. And maybe it turns out to be a nothing burger with Trump, too. I don't believe you can really change the system from within, and I don't think you can do it in 4 years. I think we're talking decades, and ultimately this is about culture, your culture, what you believe in, what your values and your virtues are. And they say politics is downstream from culture. Now, if you have a culture, should we say a subculture, and we think of Western civilization as a culture, for thousands of years there have been, there's been the Renaissance, there have been Gothic cathedrals, there have been Romantic cathedrals and so forth, there have been the arts, there has been Leonardo da Vinci. We see all that, 2,000 years of history, and then they tell us, well, this is racist, this is worth nothing, we need to kind of get rid of it. And we need to replace it with DEI hires and gender mainstreaming and trans, this and that, and whatever. And people are sick and tired of it. Again, it's not about where you stand politically, but people are tired of the overreach. They're tired of the government being able to take your squirrel, peanut. They're tired of that. What is this dictatorship? What is this fascism? Where does it come from? And you can't kill an idea any more than Israel can kill Hamas. Because Hamas, whatever you may think of them, it's not about the people. They can kill every leader. They can cut the head of the snake, as they say, and it doesn't change anything. You get even more people to join their ranks because it's an idea, and you can't kill an idea. And all the libtard media, the liberal media that are screaming and having a meltdown and completely losing their bleep. When you see that, how insane, how irrational they act, how like, oh my God, the world's chicken little, the skies are falling. This is so unreasonable, so irrational, so insane and cringe that you're just saying, why are these people freaking out like that? Because they're confronted with an idea that challenges the old world order. And I'm not talking about the new world order in the sense of Bush the elder. I'm talking about a whole new way of looking at the world. And this is where I really want to go with this. As you know, I teach mostly men, mostly young men, but actually men of all ages. And they come to me and say, Orlando, I get no respect. Sounds like Rodney Dangerfield in the 80s. I get no respect. Well, no, I get no respect from women. They don't care about me. My buddies don't respect me. My parents don't respect me. Men of authority, definitely potential employers, definitely don't respect me. What do I do? And I said, well, I think the real problem is you're not in touch with your solid masculinity. You don't have any values and virtues. And virtue, by the way, we think of blue-nosed, kind of moralistic, church lady thing. No, a virtue, it's a patience is a virtue, contains the syllable vir, virtue, and that is Latin for man. So a manly quality in the sense of the Romans, who weren't weaklings, they were pretty tough guys. A virtue is the most important male quality or qualities. So if you want to own not only your own power, but if you want to kind of own, civilization, if you want to roll back all the cultural Marxism, all the decay, all the cynicism of, the rules-based international order versus what it really should be, a law-based international order. But the rules-based international order is basically a dictatorial beast system. And what it does is it's basically the golden rule, Matthew. He who owns the gold makes the rules. This is not the same as a law-based international order, which you see BRICS and Russia and all these people. Think of them what you want, but that's what they're talking about. They're talking about a law-based international order. Law and order. And law and order, in my book, pretty good things if they're not inspired by tyranny or tyrannical, dictatorial, controlling thoughts and ideas, but by liberty, freedom, and the American way. That's what we all want. Whether Trump can actually pull that off, I have no idea. I don't know. It's not about Trump. It's about an idea that we take back personal liberties from a government that's condescending and overreaching and downright tyrannical. They can take your damn squirrel, need to say more. And that kind of overreach has to stop, and that system will come down one way or another. And if it doesn't come down in a soft landing, then you have the French Revolution. Then you have Weimar Republic in Germany, and then Hitler is the answer, or Mussolini or somebody. Or you have the decadence of the Romanovs in Russia, and then you get a Lenin and a Stalin and a Trotsky. If the King Charles I is too overbearing and and is corrupt, then you get an Oliver Cromwell who cuts his head off, and so forth and so on. So you can do this the easy way, but taking your culture back open, just saying something, call a spade, object to government overreach, defend freedom of speech, just figure out what your contribution is. Most guys today don't get respect because they're sitting in their mama's basement playing Call of Duty. And I'm saying, well, in every hero's journey, the hero's journey, the call to arms, the call to adventure, Dorothy in Kansas, Neo in The Matrix has you, wake up, Neo. And that's a call to adventure. Luke Skywalker, he sees Princess Leia, we're from a galaxy far, far away. We're in jeopardy, we need help, Oh, okay. He was basically in Kansas, and he says, okay, I better come to the aid of Princess Leia. This is the classic hero's journey. And this is what every man, a woman too in her own way, but a man much more than a woman, is called to do. The call to arms, the call to duty, the call to do your civic duty, one of which is voting. Others are like to speak up. And you may have heard the old thing of Pastor Newman in Germany in the 30s when they had a certain mustache man take over. And he said something, and I'm paraphrasing loosely. He said, when they came to get the union guys, I didn't speak up because I wasn't in the union. Then they came to take the homosexuals, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a homosexual. Then they came to pick up the Jews and ship them to Auschwitz, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't Jewish. And when they finally came around to me, when they finally took me away, there was no one who could have spoken up for me on my behalf. And that's what happens when nobody stands for something. There's a big saying in America, not so big, but it's something that I really like. A man who won't stand for something will fall for anything, not be able to withstand the vicissitudes of life. So if you want to be a strong man, if you want to command the respect of your peers, of older men of authority, potential employers, or of women of the fairer sex. And notice I don't say gender, because that's a linguistic, cultural, Marxistic construct. And then you can have 67 genders, but you can only have 2 sexes. And if that gets me banned from YouTube, tough luck. But there's only 2 sexes, man and woman. Anything else is a construct. And the idea that men can bear children, seriously, really, you're going to go with that? I didn't think so. What I'm going to tell you is this. They say politics is downstream from culture. And what is culture? Is that something that just happens? We think of it as something that's raining down, trickle down on us, that we're just like on the receiving end and, can't really do anything, Common Core. Oh, we're doing new math, Dad. No, there's only math. There's not old or new math. The principles have been established hundreds of years ago. There's math, not new math. Well, it's all-inclusive, Dad. I don't care. Is that person, he, she, black, white, green, whatever, the right person for the job, the most qualified for the job, then that's the person that should get that job and not a DEI hire. Diversity, inclusivity, equality. If you want to bring back your country, don't rely on a Trump to do it for you, whether you like him or not. I voted for him, but barely. I waited 2 days before the election and I finally filled out my absentee ballot and dropped it off at the location, so my vote would still be counted. It wasn't an easy decision. That was actually for the first time in my life, first time since the 80s, I wasn't going to vote. But I decided, well, if I look at these other clowns, if I have another 4 years of this Harris regime, Biden regime, whatever, then we'll definitely go to World War III with Russia or Iran or whomever. I don't want that. With Trump, it's pragmatic. Trump likes the deal, the art of the deal. He cares about outcomes and he wants to make deals. That's what he does. He's a deal maker. He's very pragmatic. He only cares about the bottom line. And that can be a good thing. He's not ideologically motivated. He's pragmatically informed and inspired. And again, you don't have to like him. You don't have to vote for him. And you shouldn't rely on him. And he may make the same mistakes or worse ones that the blunders with John Bolton's and the Mike Pompeos of this world. He may do the same thing again or worse. Who knows? But you can't kill the idea that Trump symbolizes. So what can you do? Instead of being on the receiving end of culture, where you think it's just, that's like, somebody pees on your leg and tells you it's raining. Culture is not something that you're on the receiving end. Culture doesn't just mean, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, or Tolstoy, or Dostoevsky, or Leonardo da Vinci. That's all part of culture. But culture is much more. It's your language. It's that you use clean and plain, non-ambiguous forms of English that are grammatically correct, that the spelling and the punctuation are more or less okay. That's the glue. We say, yo, where you at? I'm like, excuse me? Yo, where you at? I'm sorry, I don't speak straight. I do, but I refuse to. So where are you currently? Would be a better way to do it. Speaking, owning your culture, taking back the sciences, the arts, the language, using proper grammar, using proper punctuation, having a civilized discourse. That is part and parcel of taking your culture back. Saying, look, we stand for traditional things. I'm not saying you have to be a conservative. I'm not conservative in many areas. I'm much more of a libertarian. I'm also not particularly religious. But again, we have inherited for 2,000 years, for better or worse, the ideas and the art and the science. And the church at one point was a great sponsor of the sciences, not just the arts. So all that is worth preserving. And I will end this with a quotation by one of my favorite presidents of all times. Whether you think he was too far on the left or too far wherever is immaterial to me. I'm not left or right. I'm not even center. I'm just, I look at each issue in a very pragmatic way. The way I look, can it be resolved? How can we resolve it? Can we do it without shedding blood? Can we do it without lawsuits? Can we do it in a civilized manner? And what Kennedy said, and it's one of my favorite quotations of all times to this day, and it is, don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And right now, instead of playing Call of Duty in your mama's basement, hoping that you're going to be a crypto billionaire one day, how about you start getting your ass in gear and you ask yourself, okay, roll up my sleeves, what can I do? How can we take back the culture? How can I be exemplary? How can I understand what makes a man a man? How do I understand that there is a call of duty to all of us, like in the hero's journey? Arise yourself, stand up, stand for something, express yourself, tell people and open your mouth and speak the truth whenever it's called for. And that's how you take back your country. Don't wait for Trump to do it for you. You need to take the first step and take your culture back, and you will be amazed how much more respect, both from yourself as well as from others, from women, from older men, from men of authority, you will receive. Men and women will feel that you stand for something that is beyond your simple boyish desires or proclivities. And you don't have to be a superhero. You don't have to end world hunger or make world peace. Those are great but non-actionable kind of utopian concepts. They're wonderful, but good luck with them. Do what you can do. You've heard the old adage, think globally, act locally. Look at what's right in front of you. Maybe your neighbor is an old man or an old lady, can't go shopping for themselves or they can't afford the groceries. You make good money. Once a week, you go spend $50 and bring them like a basket of groceries or something of that nature. I'm not saying this is it. It's just one of a million possible examples that I just pulled out of a hat like a rabbit. But I think you get the idea. Say, what can I do to make the world better? And not to change the world or make the world better, any of that stuff. Non-utopian concepts, they never end well. But more like pragmatic little steps, one foot in front of the other. What can I do? Oh, I see a need. Oh, okay. Oh, there's a problem. And I can solve that problem. This is, by the way, the secret to making money. If you see a need that gives people a lot of grief, and it's a persistent problem for a lot of people, and you happen to know the answer to it, you can solve it for people, then you do your part, you put out, you do the best you can, you help people solve their problems, and then they'll gladly pay you for that. And then you don't need to do a lot to make money. And that's just one thing that I found out in my many, many years of life. I'm a little bit tired. You can see I have the rings under my eyes. I'm completely a mess today. That's because I stayed up till 6 a.m. during election night and wanted to make sure that we didn't get a blue wave suddenly at the 11th hour or whatever. So I'm a little tired. I'm probably talking less coherent than I normally do. But I think you get the idea. So if you want to own your culture, if you want to own your country, if you want to take your country back, don't wait for Trump to do it. Don't wait for other people to do it. There's no political solution. It is you and me, brother, and no one else. We need to roll up our sleeves. We need to say, okay, what's the job? What's job one? What do you need to do? And then start thinking of something slightly greater to yourself. The secret to not worrying is to give service and to think beyond your own personal needs. And that's a big, big part of being and becoming a man. You are the change that we need. Not Trump, not anyone else, no guru, no saint, no messiah. It's you and me, brother. No one else. I hope that clarifies a few things for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. So long. Bye-bye.